Jennifer Hawthorne is a teacher at Brentwood Elementary School. Her class is part of the CSSI program, which stands for Communications, Sensory, and Social Interactions. There are 6 autistic students in her class. There's 1 teacher and 2 ed assistants, so there's a high ratio of support for her students. Her students are on the low end of the autism spectrum, which means that they have severe autism. They experience problems with communication, sensory, motor planning, and they also have cognitive issues. This affects all areas of their learning, and that's why it's important to be in this unique environment with a small class so that they can focus and learn. How would you define autism?
Autism is a very broad spectrum disorder. There are people on the higher end that have the Asperger's aspect, and there are people on the lower end that have sort of all of the affects where they have low communication skills, low social skills, low life skills, and on the Asperger's end, it's more they have a little bit of difficulty with social skills and that sort of thing. But the definition of autism is generally the functional definition, I guess, would be that they just have difficulty processing what's happening and making sense of the world, and their senses are either hypersensitive or hyposensitive, undersensitive. So they react to those things differently. So the buzzing of a fluorescent light may sound like a Mack truck to someone who's oversensitive to sound, or they may need a lot of extra physical movement because their body just is undersensitive to what normally is stimulating to most people. So they need to do things like jump on a trampoline or wear a weighted vest just to help them get that extra sensory input.
Okay, thank you. What are some of the things that you must do differently when working with children with autism?
Some of the things that we do differently is we use short sentences and just the basics. So if I want someone to print their name, I won't say, please print your name on this paper. I'll say, print name. Short directions, not a whole lot of words, and we give them lots of time to process the direction as well before we give the direction again, rather than saying, okay, print your name, because usually by the time I've said print your name once, they're still working on the first part of the direction, and then if we ask another question again or give another direction, they've completely lost the focus. Other things that we do in this classroom, we have a small number of students. I only have 6 students. I also have 2 ed assistants, so we have a large ratio of staff to students. We break tasks down, and we call it segmenting. So a task for one student might be printing his name, printing the date, printing his phone number. And that would be one. We would break that task into 3 separate tasks, and that would be one thing that they would have to do. So we expect a shorter amount of attention, shorter time of attention, and we also have a lot of just sensory coping strategies. We have kids that wear weighted vests. They're able to chew gum, special seating, just lots of adaptive strategies to help improve their ability to manage their sensory strategies so they can learn new skills. We try to keep a quiet environment, not a whole lot of things on the wall that are distracting. I think that's probably it, actually.
Okay, great. What makes the learning of a child with autism different from the learning of a regular student?
What I find with my students is that, and I think this is general to most students with autism, is that they have the inability to generalize. The letter A for most students is an A in the word am, in the middle of the word banana, and at the end, at the end of a word as well. But for our kids to see, or students with autism, the letter A, even the difference between a capital A and a lowercase a, or in a different font, or in a different location. So they don't have that ability to generalize what they've learned. So we have to teach the same thing over and over and over again. And also, if they don't use their skills, they tend to lose them and you sort of start back again. Whereas for most kids, if they learn something, they retain that information and they remember it, like riding a bike sort of thing. Well, if a student in my class, learn to ride a bike and they have to learn all the different steps, a lot of them have motor planning issues, that's another part of it, and didn't do it for a couple months, they'd have to start learning back at the beginning, whereas a typical student who learned to ride a bike would remember all the steps in the process.
Okay. What types of behaviors do you observe in your students who have autism?
There are many different types of behaviors, a lot of what we call stereotyped behaviors, where they do the same sort of thing, that tapping, flapping, saying repetitive sounds. We have some kids who are what they call echolalic, whereas if I were to say, "How are you?" a typical student would respond with, "I'm fine." Most of